Guys, I still can't get over the fact
This is Auto Collabs.
that if you stack up all the paper produced by Greg's company, that it will go to the moon.
You could climb it to the moon.
And I think that's the first thing he ever said to us on the first time we met. And
yeah, you're right.
Does he
still
hold the world
reeling.
record now? Is he the most popular returned guest to the Auto
I think
Collabs?
he is. Nate, our
He has
producer,
to-
is saying
We're
yes.
seeing in the background, yes, he is the most popular return guest.
I just realized I forgot to ask again this year before ASOTUCon. Next year, Reynolds and Reynolds, you must bring the scroll,
Oh, the long
sacred
scroll.
that has like,
What were
you
we
know, like
thinking?
30 feet of paper back to back, and this is the length of paper you need to do a car deal. It's so entertaining and amazing, and if we put that sucker on that big stage, it is gonna crush. Greg, we're calling you
Don't
out.
need paper anymore, though. Don't need paper anymore. We're replacing that stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
Please and thank you. Please
Need
and
some
paper.
That's going to be the Dead Sea Scrolls of the future. Somebody's going to stumble, like 1,000 years
One
from
of
now, they're
those
going to
guys,
stumble on that
yeah.
scroll and be like, "What says this thing? A car deal?"
This gap insurance.
Someone's gonna be like, this thing doesn't say blockchain anywhere. What happened?
Which gap are we insuring?
They had to drive on the ground? Ew.
On that note, I think we better get into this interview quick. I hope you enjoy this interview with Greg Uland and with Reynolds and Reynolds. Greg, it feels appropriate that we have an early summer check-in, right? Because so much as I feel like the first half of this year has been an absolute whirlwind that's felt like a total of like 3 or 4 years. So it's always good to touch base because there's a lot of stuff that is going on in the second half of this year. I mean, we're not even halfway through yet. I still feel like it's the end of June, but it's not.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's early June when we're recording. At least I'm not sure when we're gonna release this one.
Yeah, me neither.
But no, I mean, NADA obviously marks sort of the beginning part of the calendar. ASOTUCon is kind of late spring, early summer, and now we head into summer, and there's all kinds of things going on, and obviously we're looking forward to Amplify, kind of dead center of the summer, a little later in August. So we're rocking and rolling, and everything's heating up, which is exciting across the country.
Yeah, talk about Amplify for a second, because we had the pleasure of attending last year, and it felt really good to be an environment that was crafted for the users of the product to go a step deeper, to connect with the people, to like figure out how do you like mix and match and get the other people that are doing well and interact. Like the energy around a users conference is always a little bit different. So talk about this year.
So a couple things. First of all, registrations. And I think you guys saw this too with record registrations and attendance at ASOTUCon.
Yeah.
We are exploding. I mean, golf's already sold out. We're 2 months out and golf is sold out.
Come on now.
Which is a very nice course, I'll tell you that. It's the TPC Las Colinas, which is where the Byron Nelson Classic was played for years.
Yes.
So it's a beautiful course, but we're basically have a wait list now for golf. And we're filling up. Block of rooms is almost sold out. And we're starting to monitor space and making sure that we're going to be able to fit everybody. So,
and it's at the Ritz-Carlton. So
you're
really slumming it this year.
It's a decent venue, in Dallas, easy to get in and out of, and just a beautiful, beautiful venue. So, really excited. But as far as environment goes, I mean, you guys were there last year. Hopefully we can figure out a way to get you there this year too. But, we're looking at certainly user groups, and we're excited about that. We get a lot of our customers that come in, but also others throughout the industry. So we'll have actually a lot of OEM partners that'll be attending this year for kind of some breakout sessions.
That's great.
A lot of dealers coming in, at least based on early registrations that aren't our customers today. So checking out the products that we have available that don't necessarily require a Reynolds DMS, or a lot of them are interested in seeing what we have and interested in looking at a Reynolds DMS. So we should have a really diverse group this year, which I think, and I think you guys would attest to this based on your experience. The more diverse the group, the more fun it is, because you get different people bouncing different ideas off of each other.
Always.
And two, a lot of times you get to learn things that maybe you weren't thinking about before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think, the idea of a user conference, cross vertically is not a net new idea, right? I mean, we think of the Apple event every single year as like the Apple event, but it's really a users conference, right? And afterwards, all the users are testing out the new product, and so it's not anything new. But I think in auto, a lot of times we could be held captive to like, oh, a users conference should just be for the users of that product. But especially when you all touch so many elements of the store, it's not just like, oh, you got to have the DMS. No, it's like IT and web and all of the things, right? It's a really unique position that you have to play. And again, like everybody wants to golf at a nice golf course. What are some of the conversations that you all are having internally that are going to be important to kind of like have sparring partners for at that event, as opposed to only announcing things? Because I know that it's not just about big announcements. It's about like having sparring partners in dealerships that are or aren't using your product, or at OEMs that are saying like, hey, here's what to look for next year.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of layers to it. So I'll hit on a couple of them. One, when we think about dealers, a lot of it is, okay, what's working, what's not, and where are the opportunities for us to increase efficiency and increase productivity? I mean, that's where we're at in today's world is, from a workflow perspective, where can we help people to do more with less, whether it's in sales, whether it's in service, whether it's in the business office. How do we get people to be more productive? So,
right. Efficient.
Yeah. And a lot of that in today's world is based in, okay, how do we leverage artificial intelligence? How do we leverage, certainly from our perspective, our Spark AI data layer, which is our unified data layer for all of our AI tools? How can we create these unique workflows that allow people to do more with less? And that's where a lot of the conversations that we have day to day stem from. But, obviously when we can get 300 or 400 people in the same room having these conversations, it really has a big impact.
Last year I'm thinking about like the closing keynote, and like the opportunity you have to bring some texture into an event with a keynote speaker. This year, you have several keynotes, or I don't know if it's one session. Talk a little bit about that, because I think the proper placement of a keynote speaker should get everybody thinking a little outside the boundaries of how we're usually thinking. But like, who did you select this year and why?
Yeah, so our opening keynote is actually going to be a panel. It's got two pretty strong dealers. So Patrick York, who's the COO at Gilman Automotive Group, and Natasha Dabario, who's the CEO at oh my goodness, I'm blanking on Bert Ogden. Thank you. Yeah, so she's going to be up there as well. And then we have a consultant actually from McKinsey & Company, Inga Moorer. I don't know if you've talked to Inga before. I've had the opportunity to have her connected, and she is sharp as all get out. I really like the way she thinks about a lot of things. So I'm interested in what she's going to bring to the table from more of a consultant's perspective versus an operator's perspective. I'm really excited about the dynamic that those three will have.
Yeah, that's really cool. Go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, bringing in the consultant side is something that you don't see very often. You've had Inga on the show. How do you feel that like that level of overarching thinking is deployed? Like, you had a conversation, and we'll link to it in the comments too, so people can go back to it. But give us like the high level takeaway of what you think her insight into the industry, how it could benefit dealers and people like wading through these AI, technologically shifting waters.
Yeah, so she works with a lot of dealers, and she's actually been with McKinsey & Company for right around 15 years, maybe a little more, maybe a little less.
Oh, wow.
I have to link to her bio. But she runs kind of their automotive segment. So she works with a lot of retailers, also works with OEMs. So she gets this sort of global view. And it's interesting because you hear somebody who isn't necessarily in it every day, but gets exposure to a lot of different types of people that operate. And she sees a lot of the things that we talk about, right? And she talks about so much segmentation in our industry and so much disparate information in our industry. And then she also sees the positive of there's so much opportunity, right? No matter what happens in this industry, we're going to power through and it's going to go to the next level. It's just, we're going to find those operators that find ways to get there. And once they do, everybody else can join in. So it is really interesting hearing, I'll call it an outside perspective. Obviously she works inside of our industry, but she's not an operator. So an outside perspective to say, we need to fix some of these things where we have all these silos all over the place, both inside the store, but then also across a larger enterprise, and even throughout the industry when we talk about manufacturers and lenders and all these pieces to the puzzle. The more we can tie everybody together, the more effective everybody's going to be.
You guys have really overlaid so much of what you do with a lot of the heart that we have, which is that more than cars mentality and more than technology, whatever it may be, right? That you all overlay that. And I see you're bringing back the Automotive Amplifiers contest. Speak to that a little bit and like how you are celebrating some of the work that dealers are doing across the country.
Yeah, so you guys were gracious enough to be judges in that contest last year.
So fun.
And we're going to actually have a couple of our winners come back to judge this year. We thought that was a great way.
Hey,
Nice.
smart.
Oh, that's real smart. Yeah.
Great way to bring them back. So looking forward to it. The contest is really designed to highlight some great contributors and some great ideas. I mean, at the end of the day, if you have a great idea that's working at your store, by all means run with it, but share that thing. Let everybody get better. Because once we're all at the same level, then we'll go to the next level and the next level and the next level. Yep. This industry never stands still. So the more we can share these best practices, share these ideas, the faster we're going to be able to grow. We're going to go up. I mean, it's going to happen. We're going to get better every single day. But the faster we can do that, the better it is for everybody. So it's an opportunity for the industry to rise, but also for these individual contributors to get their day in the sun, right? To get their spotlight and really show off what they've been working hard at. So we loved it last year. I really appreciate you guys judging last year and looking forward to this year too. Getting a lot of submissions already. The submission window is still open. So if anybody's interested in submitting, just go to rayray.com/amplify and you can submit your idea there. And all of our finalists will get flight, travel, hotel, everything for Amplify, access to all the sessions and golf, and we'll make sure to take care of you while you're there, and then present on stage, and we'll pick a couple winners, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, what I loved about it last year, and so like if you're listening to this and you're not an owner or operator, there was like a service manager, there was someone that I think one of the presenters was like a warranty admin, right? And they just had they were the ones that came up with the idea. So it doesn't have to be an owner operator. Like if it's a salesperson or a warranty admin or a BDC rep that has come up with something to create or make better within their store, like that's the things that you guys are after. So I think that's super cool.
Yeah, without a doubt. I want to go back to something you mentioned as we were just talking about what people are looking for, what dealers are looking for, and the challenges that we're facing. You said several times, do more with less.
Yep.
Right. And I think that I guess that's kind of always the plight of a business owner, right? How do I do more with less? But it feels even more specific in this day and age when we have all these external pressures that are now forcing us to find a way to do more with less, to squeeze margin, to be more efficient. We have all these technology tools. You have a lot of exposure to dealers' challenges just because of the seat you sit in and because of the number of dealers that are in your ecosystem.
Yeah.
Where are some of the areas you feel that are like the top 2 or 3 on the list where dealers are like, we have to figure out how to do more with less in this area?
Yeah, I think the easy one to point to, and none of them are easy. I shouldn't say easy. That's a bad word choice. But one of the ones that are most apparent to point to is tech productivity. Right, when you go back to the service drive, how do we enable our technicians to turn more hours in the window that they're in the store? I mean, that at the end of the day, how do we take some of those tasks out of their hands that aren't producing revenue? And how do we give them tools to be as efficient as possible? We've talked a lot about Reload, the parts delivery robot, which will be on display at Amplify for sure. The more we can keep
delivering drinks around the tables, right?
Yeah,
do it.
That is I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for a robot, man. Tell me what.
But no, it is really an apparent area to focus on. I mean, it's quite literally, and we talked about this, I think the last time we chatted, about you have inventory that you sell in the service drive and it comes in 6-minute increments, right? 1/10 of an hour is 6 minutes. So once that 6 minutes is gone, it's gone. It's spoiled inventory. So how do we make sure that we're not wasting that inventory? So that's one that's really apparent. Another is certainly in sales. How do we streamline a lot of these tasks that we need our salespeople to do for a lot of different reasons, and a lot of it's centered around the CRM. But how do we streamline a lot of these tasks so that they can be more effective, so they can spend more time with customers, so they can close more business versus kind of chasing around doing the admin stuff? And then the third one that I think can be overlooked because a lot of times it's not right in our faces, is in the business office, right? So how do we take the business office from being a money counting and posting operation to being a cash flow management office, right? How do we take them to being more impactful in the dealership by eliminating a lot of that kind of manual stuff? They shouldn't have to get a deal, tear it apart, fix whatever mistakes were made, and then rekey it back in, and then post it, and so let's say that takes, I don't know, 7 minutes. 7 minutes times, a lot of deals, they can get other things done. So really focusing on those three areas that just they kind of pop out at you when you take a step back and you look at it. And honestly, those are the ones that hit and resonate, especially when we have customers in here and we just talk about like what do you need? And when I say in here, I mean obviously our headquarters in Dayton. What do you need? And those three buckets are the ones that seem to be at least always top of mind.
I love the business office conversation because from working in the store, you typically think of the business office as just like the task management arm, right? Get things in, get it out, finish the job, and then move on to the next task, right?
Yep.
But actually what I remember is when I would go through that office and start to ask things like, where can we be more efficient? Where can we pick up dollars? They see everything.
Yep.
And so if you can offload the task management and enable them to kind of like visualize the business and make create active participation in the business's results,
right?
Because they're seeing the overview, the connection between service and sales and parts, and the connection between consumer getting title and a deal getting closed. Like those connections aren't seen elsewhere in the store. So it really is a tie-up where you can use the analytical minds to create efficiencies in the rest of the store. So I love how you're like, now that you're saying that, I'm thinking about all of the things that office could create in like not reactive, but proactive productivity.
Well, even think about, just a tangible example, expense management, right? Expense approval and management. You think about payables and the process to approve a payment, right? Or approve an invoice. That's a pain. It goes to 3 different people. It's a piece of paper half the time. We got to look at it. And then there's no real tracking to know, Jimmy's using that vendor, Johnny's using that vendor, and Billy at the other store's using that vendor. Maybe we should consolidate those bills and get a discount, right? So why can't we do that, especially in the world that we live in today? And that is a function where somebody in the business office is really bringing value and not just posting a deal into the DMS.
Yep.
So Kyle and I were just having a conversation. We were looking over some data, and it was talking about the number of calls that were or email correspondence that were unanswered, things that weren't picked up or answered appropriately. And as you're talking about freeing the people up to do what they could be doing instead of dealing with efficiency minutia, like that is a very clear and present need. Just better response times, return calls, better lead handling in general. And so I'm just tying the two because we were just having this conversation about an hour ago.
Yeah.
And as you talk about efficiency, like the downstream effect of better efficiency allows your people to do the things that, your people should be doing best.
Yeah. And most of the time you only get one shot, right? If somebody's reaching out to you, they want to talk to you now, and that's your opportunity, and it may or may not come back. And if you try to call them, so they call you once, they can't get a hold of somebody, or they reach out on your website or whatever the medium is. If they don't get what they need, they're probably not calling back, and then you're just trying to get a hold of them, and they're probably not going to answer.
They've moved on. It's funny. We were literally having this exact same conversation, and
that's it.
And the person brought up, they were like, yeah, it's not like your family dentist where like, if you don't call your dentist and you don't get them, you're not calling the one next door.
Right.
Right. You're going to try him again, and you're going to be a little patient because that's the dentist that you trust, has your records. But like, if you're selling, if you're selling Jeeps, it's like, there's a guy right there selling Jeeps too.
Yeah.
And if they call you back, then that's kind of the essence of conquest in this day and age.
Yep.
That's what you get. It's wild.
Gosh.
That's absolutely wild. Yeah.
So give us the dates again on Amplify.
Yeah. August 18 and 19. It's a Monday, Tuesday. So kind of first day is, welcome, check-in, golf, nice reception dinner. And then day 2 will be, jam-packed with all of our sessions, with kind of our expo where you can see all of our brands, which is actually kind of fun for me to see them all in one place, right? You think,
oh, it was fun for us to see them all in one place because you're on the show floor. It feels like a show floor,
yeah,
but it's not. It's all your stuff.
right.
You know?
You're like, this is the best show floor I've ever seen.
Tell me, in that scenario, tell me about like the interaction of the teams, because the teams probably don't get to spend a ton of time together either.
Yeah, not a ton. I mean, when you bring in folks from, Proton dealership IT and cybersecurity, they have a very specific focus as compared to AutoVision, who's handling inventory management and recon, right? Like those are two very different functions. So being able to get together and kind of catch up and share best practices too is a lot of fun. You also, what I've found at least is every year at every event that we're at, when we have a lot of our brands, we figure out different ways that they work together. Right.
Yeah.
Like you think about just these brands and the overlap, and it's like, oh my goodness, I don't know how we missed that. But, you look at, I don't know, AGWS, right, which is our company that we sell insurance products for F&I. And you look at AGWS, and what can AGWS do in combination with DocuPad or in service with Era Ignite, where, oh my gosh, we can actually process a claim as we're processing the RO. Inside of Ignite, we can click a button and the claim gets processed through AGWS. We don't have to send it off anywhere. We don't have to go to another portal. We don't have to do anything. And that efficiency gain, like we were just talking about for, the service writer, is massive. And, you come up with these things that seemingly are little, but then you put them into practice and a dealer sees it and they're like, where has this been my whole life? So that's a big benefit. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's almost like a users conference and developers conference wrapped into one.
Really?
Right, all in one. Yep. Yeah.
Really
Well,
is.
I love the concept. I'm so glad that you guys are committing to this year over year and excited to see what comes out of it, not just what gets announced, because I think that is the true horsepower behind that sparring partner, whether it be developers or users or anything like that. And really wish you all the best. And hey, if people haven't registered, make sure you go to rayray.com/amplify. Check it out. Greg, thank you so much again for joining us here on Auto Collabs.
Thanks, guys. Always my pleasure. We'll catch up again soon.
Yeah, let me just say, I love the fact that they are bringing the contestants who won, or the contestants from last year in the Amplify contest, back to be the judges this year. I think
Super
that's
savvy move. Super savvy move.
That's
And I
called
love
forward
that. I mean,
motion.
we got to meet the contestants last year. This isn't like three dealer principals. These are people that are doing the job, getting the job done. They're going to look at other people that are getting the job done, doing the hands and feet work every single day in a dealership, looking at the next generation.
How cool does that make you feel too, right? If you're day in, day out, you're in a parts department or you're doing something and all of a sudden, like, you're in the judge's seat.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh.
You remember at
Explosion.
Con, our closing keynote was about built different, and really the thread that drove through it was how the generation, the preceding generation sets up the upcoming generation.
I kind of remember
this is how it happens, guys. It's
Come
the
on.
winners from last year helping set up the winners for this year. Oh, because this industry's built different.
Come on.
It's all
It
coming
lands
together.
everywhere.
I got nothing. That was it.
I'm all fired up.
That was good.
That
I
was
think
my
we need
firework.
to end. I think we need to end with that, Kyle. Take us
Yeah.
home.
I hope y'all are all fired up.
I am.
You should join us on the next Auto Collabs, because that's all we do. We get fired up. We're excited about this industry, and that's why we have conversations with people in this industry, figuring out what makes them tick and why they're here. On behalf of Paul J Daly, Michael Cirillo, and myself, Kyle Mountsier, thanks for joining us. Welcome to Auto Collabs. Why are we recording?
Are we rolling yet?